Hello, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Morning. All right. It is 8 o'clock sharp, so I'm going to begin our panel session. Well, good morning. My name is Fitra Pinandhita, and I will be moderating this live paper session. And this is the panel session, and the presenters are the first under name Joel L. Alvarez and Sheena Mai Galman. And then the second, Lida Amalia, Neng Sa'datul Muharramah, De Budi Irwan Taufik, Leni Sri Mulyani. And then the third one is Siti Rabiatul Fajri, Sucika Armiani, Ahmad Sukri, Kurnia Ningsih, Ibnu Marianto, and Kurniasih Nur Afah. And then the fourth presenter will be Miss Dalina Eti Septianti. And then the fifth presenter, Muhammad Fedrik Rahmat Rizal Adi Nurdiansyah. And then the sixth presenter will be Eka Satya Aldila Afriansyah, Riri Puspita Dewi Permatasari, Nizar Alam Hamdani, Galih Abdul Fatah Maulani. And then the seventh presenter will be Nurwiani Edi Setio Utomo, Esti Saraswati Nur Hartiningrum. And then the eighth presenter will be Hazel Reduka Zeni Liza Uchang. And then the ninth presenter will be Engelbert P. Escalona. And then the 10th presenter will be Peter Paul Elazo and Gloria de Tuzon. And then this 11th presenter will be Milagros and also Zomiso. The 12th presenter will be Jesse James M. Sangalang. And then the 13th presenter will be Darmadi. The 14th presenter will be Ika Krisdiana. The 15th presenter will be De Asis Joven. All right. Before we begin, I have a few housekeeping notes for all presenters. Today's session is being recorded to be available for viewing post-conference. And then if you have questions for the presenters, you may raise your hand and turn on your microphone and ask them out aloud, or use the chat feature in this room meeting. And I will read your question out aloud on the conference platform for this session, for presenters to answer after this session. And each presenter today will have a total of 10 minutes for their presentation. If one of our presenters complete their presentation before their 10 minutes is up, there may be time for question from attendees. However, we will hold most questions until the end of the session, and I will then read the question out aloud for the presenter to answer as time permits. Now, let's please welcome our first presenter under name Joel L. Alvarez and Sheena Mai Galman. Hello, sir.
Good morning, ma'am. So let me share my screen.
Good morning.
Thank
Okay.
you.
You can proceed it.
Salamat pagi to the honorable administrators who made this event possible, my co-presenters, participants, researchers, and colleagues. A pleasant afternoon to all. In behalf of my co-author, Attorney Shinmay Eagleman, I, Mr. Joel I. Alvarez, to our completed paper entitled High-Flex Learning, Continuing Tertiary Education in a Post-Pandemic Environment. The traditional structure of HE instruction includes in-person classes that are given at predetermined times and places, together with reading and homework assignments that students complete outside of class. Offering online and blended learning as well as generally integrating digital technology into teaching and learning have become more popular, that is, according to Araka et al. In 2020. In the present and the future of higher education, Online education is essential. That is quoted from Allen et al. In 2016. Moreover, according to CHED Commissioner J. Prospero de Vera II in May 2021, from now on, flexible learning will be the norm. There's no going back to the traditional full-pack face-to-face classrooms. The Commission has adopted the policy that flexible learning will continue in the school year 2021 and thereafter. This statement calls for the integration and implementation of high-flex learning. Based on the facts presented and with the need to integrate innovative teaching strategies and pedagogical concepts in dealing with the post-pandemic that the educational system of the country is currently experiencing, it was identified that a full implementation of high-flex learning is needed. Bearing this in mind, the researcher conducted this study to develop and assess a high-flex-ready classroom using ADDIE instructional model. Using developmental research design through ADDIE model of instructional development, this study aims to develop a high-flex-ready classroom considering its physical and pedagogical components. With 2 mathematical experts, 1 pedagogical expert, 10 mathematics instructors, and 25 BSE mathematics students, the design, content, and instructional use was assessed. This study used instruments which were of great help to obtain data leading to the success of this study. This study used, first, design solution evaluation tool, content development rubric, observation protocol for mathematics instructors, questionnaire for content and pedagogical experts, and interview guide for mathematics students. All instruments undergone a rigid process of evaluation. After the evaluation process following the lean framework, all instruments obtain a content validity index of 1.0. Based on the data gathered, the following results were obtained using the respective data analysis used. In the analysis phase, using qualitative analysis, the course content of high-flex-ready classroom is being analyzed and crafted following the CHED Memorandum No. 75, Series of 2017. The topics that were considered to be part of the study was based on the crafted syllabi of the Philippine National Research Center for Teacher Quality in 2020. For the program Bachelor of Secondary Education major in Mathematics, the topics included in this study are 7 learning units under the course Integral Calculus as shown in the screen. The design of the high-flex-ready classroom was described in terms of its physical components, pedagogical components, compliance to application standards, and alignment to set design solution. As shown in Table 2, it was identified that there are 2 equipment or gadgets necessary to set up a high-flex-ready classroom. As shown in the table, an HRC needs 2 LCD projectors to serve as projecting tool in showing the slides or Zoom whiteboard of the teacher. Another projector was used to project the students in the online platform to assure that they are seen by their classmates in the on-site setup. Also, a teacher's laptop was set to serve as the main material of the teacher in discussing and explaining the lessons. This setup approximately costs 96,000 and can be utilized in a 5 meter by 5 meter lecture or educational technology classroom. Pedagogical components of this study pertains to the parts of the teaching learning process adopted for the setup of high-flex learning. This study utilized the parts of lesson plan as defined by Stauffer in 2019. The pedagogical components adopted for the purpose of this study includes introduction, lesson objectives, learning materials, lesson procedure or activities, assessment method, and lesson reflection. Considering the scenario of high-flex learning, the researcher had modified the learning materials, lesson procedure or activities, assessment method, and lesson reflection to cater the needs of the students, complementing their selected or current learning environment. It was assured by the researcher that the modified pedagogical component suits the learning needs of the online students and on-site students. The lessons implemented at HRC took into account 3 application standards to make sure they adhere to the policies and standards like CHED Memorandum as reflected in CHED Memo No. 75 Series of 2017 and CHED Memo No. 6 Series of 2022, Philippine Professional Standards for Teachers or PPST, and Policies and Standards for High-Flex Learning. The content of HRC obtained a grand mean rating of 3.0, which is interpreted verbally as completely satisfied. The validity, the many methods of presenting the topic substance received excellent praise from the reviewers. After the development and revision of the syllabi of instruction with the published book as basis for the content of the HRC, the researcher had developed materials, learning activities, and assessment method for the purpose of hyplex learning. Two different but aligned sets of materials, learning activities, and assessment method were formulated considering the two groups of students engaged in two different learning modalities. Validation and reliability of materials, learning activities, and assessment method were done through the help of experts in the field of mathematics and teaching pedagogies. The developed materials, learning activities, and assessment method were implemented in the already set up Hyplex-ready classroom. The execution of Hyplex classes was successful when seen as a whole. The use of HRC, according to the teacher observers, was another novelty and teaching approach for integral calculus principles and applications. When teaching integral calculus, the utilization of several cutting-edge tactics in the form of hyplex learning proved entertaining for the students and increased their level of participation. Due to the success of the earlier phases, the implementation phase of the current study was demonstrated. Here, inferences are drawn about the sustainability and viability of the analysis and design phases based on the students' comments and reactions. With a grand mean rating of 2.97, the HRC's design was deemed to be generally very good. The delivery and design that best suit the delivery of an online course received high praise from the three reviewers. Another supporting video for the issue should be included, according to one of the reviewers. The method and layout used to communicate the HRC's material received praise from the evaluators as a whole. Last but not the least, the three evaluators praised the appropriateness and alignment of every component with respect to one another and the achievement of the learning competencies. In general, the content of the HRC was assessed to be very good with a grand mean rating of 2.99. The three evaluators highly laud the validity of the content and the inclusion of other supporting materials and activities. One of the evaluators suggested the inclusion of a tutorial video on integrating software applications related to integral calculus. The three evaluators highly commended that all the parts in each unit are parallel to the content of the other parts. The learning activities and experiences provided are best suited towards the attainment of the learning competencies. As to the assessment of the instructional use, in general, the teachers have assessed the HRC to be applicable in delivering the content of integral calculus through the two different learning modalities. The Hyplex learning approach offers convenience to the majority of the students since both groups can access the same level of quality of instruction needed for the attainment of the specified competencies. The implementation of HRC will be a great help for the students to have mastery of the course. The teachers also commented that through the use of recorded discussion, the students may go back to the lessons in such cases that they have difficulty in acquiring the knowledge presented in each unit. In the light of the results, the following were concluded. Generally, the development of HRC is found visible through the ADDI model of instructional development. That concludes my presentation. Again, I am Mr. Joel I. Alvarez from the College of Education NEST. Thank you, Terima kasih, and God bless us all.
Wow, that was a very great presentation, Mr. Joel. All right.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
Yeah, we are happy to have some kind of questions to Mr. Joel. You can participate to type your question if you have some question to Mr. Joel in a chat box. All right, now we are going to have the second presentation. It will be presented by Lida Amalia, Neng Saadatul Muharramah, De Budi Irwan Taufik, and also Leni Sri Mulyani, entitled The Effectiveness of Application POEW, Predict, Observe, Explain, Write, Learning Models on the Ecosystem Concept. And unfortunately,
this is presentation.
Miss Lida cannot join together with us. but she already sent the video to the committee. And here is, I'm going to show you the recording of her.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Our research entitled The Effectiveness of Application POAW Predict, Observe, Explain, Write Learning Model on the Ecosystem Concept. The learning process in the classroom is a very important part of the education. The success of the learning process cannot be separated from the ability of teacher to develop models, method, and learning media. Inappropriate learning model can cause the learning process to be not optimal. The learning model should be oriented toward increasing the intensity of student involvement effectively in the learning process. The learning process in various scientific fields is certainly different. In the scientific field of biology, learning is not enough to be carried out by conveying information about concepts and principles, but students must also understand the process of occurrence of scientific phenomena by utilizing sensing as much as possible. This means that when learning science, students must be active in the learning process, so observing, experimenting, and discussing with friends and with the teacher, so that learning goals can be achieved. One of the learning model that can apply is the POAW learning model. The POAW model consists of 4 stages of core activities. 1. Predict. Student make guesses. 2. Observe. Student make observations. 3. Explain. Student explain in the discussion. 4. Write. Student write conclusion in their own language. The POAW learning model can make students able to make predictions based on their prior knowledge, so that students can solve problems given by the teacher as well as problems in everyday life. In addition, students are guided to design experiments based on their own predictions. The POAW learning models allow students to be active in the learning process, providing opportunities for students to construct their knowledge, communicate their thoughts, and write down the result of their discussion, so that students better understand and master the concept being taught, and student critical thinking skills are improved. Based on the previous description, the objectives of this research are: A. How is the initial ability of students before being given the POAW, predict, observe, explain, write learning model on the ecosystem concept? B. How are student learning outcomes after being given the POAW, predict, observe, explain, write learning model on the ecosystem concept? C. How effective is the application of the POAW, predict, observe, explain, write learning model to the ecosystem concept? The research method used in is the pre-experimental method, which is an experimental research design that only use the experimental group without a control group. Research design is one group pre-test post-test design. Sample, one class from class 10, Madrasah Aliyah Al-Faliliyah, Cianjur. Total 24 students. The instrument, an objective test of 30 multiple choice question. The data analysis by calculating improved learning outcome, mastery level of value, average mastery level, and effectiveness of the learning model. The results show that before applying the POAW learning model, the average value is 57.08. After applying the POAW learning model is 81.46. To determine the effectiveness of learning, the following analysis is carried out. A. Normalized gain test. Based on figure 1, it can be seen that of the 24 students, the high category was achieved by 7 students with a percentage of 29.2%. The median category was achieved by 15 students with a percentage of 62.5%. And low category was achieved by 2 students with a percentage of 8.3%. B. Mastery level test. The level of student mastery can be seen from 24 students who have not mastered the material or below 25% are 2 students with a percentage of 8.3%, while the student who managed to master 25% of the material were 22 students with a percentage of 91.7%. C. Average mastery level. The average mastery level of all students is 81%, which indicates
Moderatornya mana?
Okay, wait for a moment. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, because we have trouble in some technical trouble. Wait for a moment. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to have the third presenter first. Okay, entitled Diversity of Fruits Bats in Nature Tourism Park, Lombok Island, West Nusa Tenggara. And it will be presented by Ibu Siti Rabiatul Fajri, Ibu Sucika Armiani, Bapak Ahmad Sukri, Ibu Kurnianingsih, and also Bapak Marianto and Ibu Kurniasih Nur Afifah. Good morning, Ibu Siti Rabiatul.
Morning.
I hope you're in a very good condition, Ibu.
Yes.
Okay, are you ready to present your presentation, Ibu?
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay, let's proceed it. You may proceed.
I want to share my slide presentation. Okay, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I want to presentation my research. The title of research is Diversity of Fruit Bats Pteropodidae in Nature Tourism Park, Lombok Island, West Nusa Tenggara Barat. Nusa Tenggara. But are one the most abundant group of mammal in the number of individuals. I'm sorry. Individual, the number of the species reported included 1,232 in the world, but also report to have an important role in ecology, that is, bird is predator, but are also used in the seed spread, pollination, distribution of material and nutrient, and designing. Lombok is category in area the uniquely bioecological, and Lombok Island also has the potential for ecotourism, which is the special interest tourism attraction, namely in the nature tourism park. One of the tourism potential, the tourism in Lombok Island the last 3 years, because I believe to provide in environmental friendly and the tourism attraction that is special interest tourism and attraction in the natural park. But the potential of the six nature tourism park are different and quite abundant. One with great but species Pteropodidae. Material and method. One study area, the research was carried out in Nature Tourism Park in the Lombok Island, including Bangko-Bangko, Pelangan, Kerandangan, Suranadi, Gunung Tuna, and Tanjung Tampa. The next blood sample collection, make a transect line and install to MISNet in that location. For nature tourism park, the have natural habitat for birds such as cape. The installation of transect net is the carry out at the mouth of the cape. 3. Identification of sample, but cock in the neck. Are then released and identified. The sample were checked manual by checking in the morphology characteristics. Identification of bed sample refers to book reference. 4. Research data analysis for species richness index, Margalep index, dominance, Sanan-Wiener index, evidence index. The mapping of the distribution of bed will be based on the coordinate of the bed spatial phone. Furthermore, mapping of the bed was carried out using PCA modeling. All data analysis process were carried out using PASS software 4.003. Result and discussion. The number of individual fruit bat Pteropodidae location of nature tourism park Tanjung Tampa, Pelangan, Bangko-Bangko, Suranadi, Kerandangan. The totality is 175 individuals, and 9 species. Macroglossus minimus, Eonycteris palea, Sinopterus pink, Sinopterus holzfieldi, Sinopterus Nusa Tenggara, Rosetus amplexi caudatus, Dobsonia peroni, Rosetus lenseuneulithi. Based on the table, it is that the high evidence in Gunung Tuna is 36.0 57%, and the loss abundance in Tanjung Tampa 10.86. But diversity analysis state that the high dominant value inform the Tanjung Tampa at 0.48 and the loss Pelangan at 0.90. The Margolef index value was found the Pelangan Tanjung Tampa Pelangan at 0.90. The Margolef index was for Pelangan 1.46 and the loss Tanjung Tampa at 0.68. The high Xenon winner is Pelangan at 1.72 and the loss Tanjung Tampa is 0 Tanjung Tampa 0.88. Next, this similarity analysis uses the estimation of the binary coefficient community parameter using the Jacket Similarity Index or JE index. Base of the figure is the state that two community, the community group E is Bangko-Bangko, Kerandangan, and Suranadi, and the group B, the consistent is Tanjung Tampa, Pelangan, and Gunung Tuna. The next, testing of community similarity using PCR. Based on the figure above, also stated in the two group performance, and the first group is Tanjung Tampa, Pelangan, and Gunung Tuna. The R value R negative, and group B is the TWA Kerandangan, Bangko-Bangko, Suranadi. The R value is positive. This is mapping bed species using PCR. Species mapping was carried out using data on the number species, and mapping of the bed species was carried out using VCA modeling. The result of mapping bed species using VCA modeling state that there are 4 species group form. Group E Tosca. Of the Rosetus lanceolate and Dobsonia veroni, and group B red consisting is Sinopterus pink and Sinopterus titechnius, and group C purple consisting of Sinopterus nusa tenggara, Eonycteris palea, and Macroglossus minimus. The conclusion: the high abundance of the bed was found the Gunung Tuna, and the law is Suranadi, and next the species abundant species Eunecteris spalea has evidence, and allows Rosetus lanceolitea, and dominant value is pond to Tanjung Tampa, and Margalev value is Pelangan. Shannon-Wiener index, Shannon-Wiener index in the high Shannon-Wiener index is Pelangan, and the result of similarity to group of community similarity, namely group consistent of the Bangku-Bangku, Kerandangan, and Suranadi, and group B consistent of the Gunung Tuna, Tanjung Tampa, and Pelangan. Mapping bed species using VCA modeling state for species group format, group Etosca and Rosetus, Dobsonia, and group B is red Sinopterus pink and Titecelius, and purple is Sinopterus nusa tenggara, Eunecteris spalea, and Macroglossus minimus. And the D, Euloconsistent, Rosetus, Amplexicodatus, and Sinopteris Holsfieldi. Thank you for attention.
All right, thank you so much, Ibu.
I'm sorry, I'm body not bad, not good.
It's okay. Get well soon, Ibu. Get well soon. All right. Is it possible to you to close the presentation, Ibu Siti?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much for your insightful presentation. Ladies and gentlemen, now we are going to have the fourth presenter under name Miss Dalina and also Eti Septianti, entitled Analysis of Student Learning Outcomes of Derivative Materials. And unfortunately, they cannot come to the live parallel presentation this morning, but they already sent their video to us. Here is the video.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, the participants of ICETECH 2022. My name is Eti Septiati. At this time, I will present our research with Ibu Miss Dalina, my partner. We are from Universitas PGRI Palembang. Our research talking about analysis of student learning outcomes of derivative materials. Why we do this research is the fact that we found from our class, especially calculus class, who gave to the first semester students of mathematics education program. So we found that some students still have difficulty solving problems related to derivative basics materials. This is the two problems talking about the absolute value, the concept of absolute value. Meanwhile, derived material is part of material in the differential calculus course, while the differential calculus course is a prerequisite for taking the advanced calculus course. So it is important to describe the learning outcomes and difficulties faced by students of mathematics education study program in derivative materials. The method we do from to this research is descriptive quantitative. We collecting data by give the students a test or 5 essay tests to 48 students who take the calculus class. And after that, we interview some of them according to the result of their test. After data collected, data will analyze this by calculating the average errors and percentage. And finally, we interpret what the result. Here's the result. After students answering the test, this table explains that the average learning outcomes were 76.7. It means good categories. This shows that there are still mistakes made by students in solving problems. Although the concept of derivative and Tangen equation can be understood by students, it shows 96% and 85%. However, on implicit derivative materials, still 58%. It means that students have difficulty in solving problems related to implicit derivatives. Then the 70% change rule and the maximum and minimum problem solving also needs to be reviewed because it is only 76%. We discuss about one of the answers of students in problem number 2. This problem is determining the derivatives using the change rule from the function of function f. Students, according to the interview to the students, they said students did not understand making, forging, and derivative procedures for repeat change rule. These results also support sums of research that have been done before from other researchers. And problem number 3, there are errors in the writing of the quadratics of y derivatives against x and 3xy derivatives against x. Based on the interview, the student was unable to write correctly the notations of the derivative result and was confused when it was about to lower a 3xy. Students writes the derived result notation as an explicit functions. So students are still unable to distinguish between explicit and implicit derivatives. And this result is also supporting the results, the research before. Problem number 4 is about the maximum and minimum problem solving about the garden cage. The garden cage is made of wire whose circumference is 150 meters. So the students should determine the size X and Y that make the maximum garden area. Student made mistake in making mathematical models in this part. So after analysis and discuss the result, we can take the conclusion that the result of learning derivative materials for students of the mathematics education study program is 76.7. It means a good category. It is the learning outcomes from derivative materials, and students still cannot distinguish between explicit and implicit derivatives, do not understand the derivative procedures of repeated change rules, especially in trigonometric function, and make mistake in making mathematical models from problem solving problems. Okay, I think this is the end of our presentation. Thank you for this opportunity. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Okay, all right. That was the recording of the presentation of Ibu Miss Dalina and also Ibu Eti Septianti, entitled Analysis of Student Learning Outcomes of Derivative Materials. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to have the fifth presenter. Hello, Mr. Muhammad Fedrik, and also Bapak Rahmat Rizal Andi, and also Bapak Nurdian Syah. Are you ready to present your presentation, sir?
I am ready.
All right, okay. You may proceed it. Entitled Development of Ethno-Mathematics-Based Online Learning for Prospective Teachers.
Okay. Thank you, moderator Nom Fitra. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you. I will present my paper, the entitled Development of Ethnomatic-Based on Learning, or pembelajaran etnomatematika berbasis online for prospective teachers. I am Muhammad Pendrik and Rahmat Rizal Andi and Nurdian Syah from University of Riau. Introduction. Online learning is an educational innovation that involves element of information technology in learning using the internet network with accessibility, connectivity, flexibility, and the ability to bring up various types of learning interaction that are carried out by utilizing digital devices and the internet to make learning more interesting, creative, and effective. Albanese and Perales 2015-2015 state that ethnomathematics is a research program that focuses on the relationship between mathematics and culture. The main idea is the mathematics is the product of socio-historical and cultural processes that have been developed with contribution from various society and cultures. Ethnomathematics can bridge between culture and mathematics is ethnomathematics. In addition, mathematics and culture are also two things that are closely related and can explain each other and are integral part of the cultural heritage of mankind. The ultimate goal of using ethnomathematics in higher education does not always end in formal mathematics knowledge and mathematics thinking skill, but instead emphasizes building a cultural personality. The cultural person is shown through an appreciative attitude toward his own culture and critical thinking to reconstruct mathematics in culture to be relevant to the time. In this study, the focus is on developing ethnomathematics based on learning application or POBE for student lecturers in universities. This study aims to develop POBE ethnomathematics based on learning application in higher education by answer the research question, namely how to develop POBE application for PGST student lecturer in higher education. Method, this study as research and development or R&D. This research is a research method that I am to design a model or product in the field of education and then test the effectiveness and efficiency of using the model or product. This research procedure is limited to a POBE trial with PGSD FKIP student University of Riau. The POBE validity test is carried out by experts in the field of learning design and mathematics education. The trial in this study were conducted on students of PGSD FKIP Universitas Islam Riau or UIR and students of PGSD FKIP Universitas Riau or UNRI. Meanwhile, the POBE evaluation was carried out at 42 PGSD FKIP students at the University of Riau in elementary mathematics learning course in the odd semester of the 2022-2023 academic year. The data used in this research are in the form documentation, study, and FGD. POBE research and development flowchart from problem analysis and potency. Next, theoretical study and framework. And then POBE design, POBE validation, POBE revision, POBE trial, and finally, evaluation of result and product. Result of discussion. The problem and potential analysis stage. The researcher collect information from the result of previous study related to the problem encountered by PGSD student. As explained in the introduction, that some of the problem of PGSD student in participating in the mathematics learning process, including material that is students, the speed of lecturer in delivering lecture material. Lecturer was still dominant lecturer and student participation is still low, resulting in the student having difficulty in learning mathematics and have an impact on low learning achievement. Second, the stage of conducting theoretical studies, literature studies, and documentation. At this stage, the research examines several aspects related to ethnomatic-based out learning or POBE, which was developed by looking for various kinds of reference. Furthermore, the research team consisting of 3 people made direct observation to the Siak Sri Indrapura Palace to see and determine the object research in the form artifact in the Siak Sri Indrapura Palace. Based on this observation, the research team designed a framework for developing ethnomathematics based on learning or POBE. This stage of surfing the research object and design a development framework. And then initial product design and the research team expert discuss drop focus group discussion or FGD in making the POBE design so that is could be used by lecturer and student in lecture. After the initial design is complete, the validity test is carried. The validity test in this study was carried by testing the validity of expert and testing effectiveness on PGSD student batch 2021 FKIP Riau of University. For the expert validity test research as to expert to assess the quality of developed POBE. Meanwhile, 42 PGSD students assessed the quality of the POBE developed from their result of product validity and based on expert input and student assessment. A revision was made to the product development. It is a recapitulation of validation result evaluating 149 criteria very good, FG, PG, aspect rational development, supporting theory, syntax, social system, reaction principle, support system, instructional impact, and implementation instruction. Conclusion, based on the result of validation, formative assessment by expert, then revision were made. It was concluded that the POBE product had met the valid criteria with very good criteria so that it was suitable for use by students in higher education. Then the mathematics-based online learning development is still at an early stage. Input from schools such as teacher and student will be useful for improving mathematics-based online learning before it is disseminated in the school in Riau province. Meanwhile, the content of mathematics is culture in mathematics-based learning still need to be analyzed more deeply in order to determine the quality of the mathematics-based learning POBE development. It is a display from POBE website. Is in the content mathematics. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. I will to return to the moderator, Ms. Fitra. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, sir. That was very nice presentation. All right, Bapak Ibu, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to remind you to click the link on the chat room because there's a link for the attendance list. So please kindly fill the attendance list by filling the link on the chat box. All right, now we are going to have the sixth presenter, Mr. Eka Satya Afriansyah, and then Ibu Riri Puspita Dewi Permatasari, Bapak Nizar Alam Hamdani, and also Bapak Gali Abdul Fatah Maulani. The title will be How Far is the Mathematical Problem-Solving Ability of Vocational School Students? Good morning, Bapak Eka Satya.
Morning, Bu Fitra. Ya.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, are you ready for the presentation?
Inshallah.
All right, you may proceed.
Okay. Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Ability of vocational school students. This is our research in coordination with the teacher, Ms. Riri, and also supporting by Pak Nizar dan Pak Gali from UNIGA. And I'm myself from IP, Institut Pendidikan Indonesia. Okay. The first one from introduction. Many students do not like mathematics because for them, mathematics is a difficult subject. But students must study mathematics because mathematics is one of the main subjects that must be learned. One of the main goals in learning mathematics is that students have problem-solving abilities With problem solving and mathematics learning, it is hoped that students will be able to build new knowledge about mathematics, solve problems that arise in mathematics or in the context of everyday life. In human life, you will definitely be faced with a problem that requires skills and ability to solve. Learning problem solving can enable students to be more critical and creative in making decisions to solve problems in their lives. One example of problem solving activities that students can do in solving story problems. By solving story problems, students are required to change the problem in mathematical form and solve problem based on what is known in the problem. For some relevant studies, there are 5. The problem-solving ability of 8th grade students of junior high school is still weak. Yono, Supangi, and Krediani, 2018. The second one, the problem-solving ability of students in class 10 social science in Serang City is still low. From Azahra and Pujasuti, 2020. The third one, students' problem solving in mathematical reasoning ability are still low, while students' self-efficacy abilities are good. From Zakia et al., 2018. And the fourth one, the problem solving method according to Polya can develop students' problem solving abilities. From Hadi and Radiatul, 2014. Fifth, Hall show that achievement of indicator students' mathematical problem-solving abilities is still low. From Hotimah, Sari, and Zanti, 2019. The difference between the research that we are going to do from a previous studies is that the research location will be carried out from Pamengpeuk district, Garut Regency, and also the characteristic of students here. The study aims to determine the problem-solving ability of vocational school students on the material of 3-variable system of linear equation. For the method, we use a descriptive qualitative research method. This research aims to describe in full and in-depth the social reality that occurs. The subject of this study were 3 students of South Garut Vocational School in Cikelet District, Garut Regency, and this research use instrument, 3 instrument, question, interviews, and also field notes. Of course, the question, the form of the question is mathematical problem-solving test, and the interview we use to determine each student's ability. And the data analysis technique we use from Miles and Huberman. There are 3: data reduction, data presentation, and also conclusion drawing. And the assessment, for the assessment, for students' mathematical problem-solving abilities, we use from Akbar et al. 2018. For the result, we see each students from student 1, which is included in the high classification, is able to work on the ability to test question of mathematical problem solving properly and correctly according to the indicators. Although there are slight errors, it has no effect on the final result. And the student 2, which is classified of being to understand the problem and bend a solution, but there are still mistakes in completing the settlement plan, which greatly affects the final result, and it's still wrong to be checking. And the third one, student 3, which is classified as low, is not able to solve problems properly and correctly. This can be seen from the discussion of each students, from mathematical problem-solving ability tests. And for the discussion, the result of the research in line with several studies, which is students with high abilities in their schools have high mathematical problem-solving abilities too. This shows that there is a positive relationship between students' ability in school and their mathematical problem-solving abilities. And for the conclusion of this study is that high ability students were able to complete all mathematical problem-solving ability test question well. According to the indicators with a score 97. For the moderately capable students were able to solve all questions. However, there were still mistakes in each question with a score 67. And the students with low ability did all the test questions, but there are still many mistakes and not all indicators were met with a score 43. The benefit of this research is to be used as a reference material for mathematical abilities of vocational school students and for further research also. Maybe that's all our presentations. Thank you for the time. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi
wabarakatuh.
For the insightful presentation, Bapak Eka Satya Aldila from Institut Pendidikan Indonesia, one of our co-hosts. Thank you so much. All right, now we are going to have the seventh presenter, but before going to this next presenter, I'm going to remind you, Bapak Ibu, I'm going to remind you, ladies and gentlemen, if you have any questions, you can proceed your questions by typing your question on the chat box. Thank you. All right. Now we will have Ibu Nurwiani, Bapak Edi Setia Utomo, Ibu Esti Saraswati Nur Hartiningrum, entitled The Core Learning Model in Improving Mathematical Communication and Learning Outcomes of Junior High School Students. Right. Hello, Ibu.
Yes. Sorry, Miss Fitra.
Oh,
yeah. I will to present.
Okay.
Yes.
I do believe you are ready to have the presentation.
Yeah.
Okay, you bisa.
Okay. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Yes. I will present the result of our research with the title the core learning model in improving mathematical communication and learning outcome of junior high school student. And the partner my partner is Mrs. Nurwiani and Esti Saraswati Nur Hartiningrum. At this time, if we pay attention to mathematical learning, there is very dynamic and growing transformation of mathematical learning. The current teaching process prioritizes student interaction and activity. We know that every student has different characteristics and abilities. Especially during the learning process. Mathematical communication is one the ability process by every student. Mathematical communication skill are related to student ability processed by ability to convert either and in the form to other that occur in the classroom. And the aspect of communication, mathematical communication, in this study consists of aspect of representation, listening, writing, discussion, and reading. In addition, each student also has different cognitive abilities and can be seen when option learning outcome. Some are high and some are low. And then based on the result of initial observation in SMP Negeri 1 Jombang in class 8C, yeah. The first learning is still dominated by teacher. And the second, the lack of student who answer the question given by the teacher mean and that only certain student respond. And the next, students have not been able to provide verbal feedback on question given by the teacher. And the last, the learning mastery is still around 45.2% in the material thanks to the outer and inner circle. Beside the result observation, our research implementation core learning model. The core is connection, organizing, reflecting, and extending learning model. Is a learning model that can increase student activity, especially mathematical communication activities. And then the state of core learning model emphasizes more on the ability of students to interact personally in the group. And then the ability of students to organize either in writing or orally. The ability to understand information, carry out reflection activity on what has been done, and extract the knowledge gained and integrated with prior knowledge. This study aims to improve mathematical communication skill and learning outcome to the core learning model of junior high school students. The aspect of mathematical communication in this study consists of aspect of representation, listening, writing, discussion, and reading. The method in this research type of research, classroom action research, and the research subject in SMP Negeri 1 Jombang of junior high school in the 8th class C. And then data collection procedure, observation method, interview method, test, and documentation. Indicator of success is minimum completeness criteria determined by the school, namely students score greater than or equal to 80 and class average, namely class average greater than or equal 85. And then the data analysis technique, class average and percent. And the result, class 8 student mathematical communication skill to the application of the core learning model. If we data has improving mathematical skill to core. This is aspect representation, aspect is listening and reading, discussion and writing, Yeah. The cycle one and cycle two, yeah, of aspect of mathematical communication consisting of representation, listening and reading, discussion, writing. That score is above 80. Yeah. Overall, the application of the core learning model student mathematical communication skill have increased. This is because the organizing stage where each student interact personality or the group to copy ideas during problem solving. In addition, students also experience an increase in mathematical communication when presenting answer in front of the class and when conducting class discussion. And the next, mathematical learning outcome of class 8 student took the application of core learning model. In the cycle one, the student learning outcome who complete as 6%. And then the cycle two, there are 12 percent. And then we look that the table, a comparison of student mathematics learning outcome in the cycle one and the cycle two has increased, especially those who are complete. So it can be said the application, the core learning model is very effective. Overall, the research above, the core learning model effective improve student mathematical communication, especially in representation, reading, discussion, writing, and listening and learning outcome. The conclusion, based on the studies result, it was shown that the application of the core learning model could improve mathematical communication skill and learning outcome of junior high school student. The average mathematical communication ability in cycle one is 55%, or the medium category. Well, in cycle two, it is 85%, or in the high category. So the increase in mathematical communication skill is 30%. The average student learning outcome in cycle one are 68.69, while the average learning outcome in cycle two are 86. This indicates that the core learning model effectively improve mathematical communication skill and the student learning outcome. Okay, thank you, Ms. Fitra. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. All right, thank you, Mr. Eddie, for your great presentation. Okay, you may close your presentation, sir. All right, thank you. We are going to have the 8th presenter. I'm going to call Miss or Mr. Hazal Reduka and also Jenny Liza Uchang. with the title Investigating the Effects of Video Conferencing on Students Interesting Learning Mathematics. Hello.
Hello.
Hi, good morning. Nice to see you.
Morning, ma'am.
From Philippines.
In behalf of Ma'am Jeniliza Okang, my name is Hazel Briones Reduca from Central Mindanao University from the Republic of the Philippines. To the member of the host of this International Conference on Education and Technology, ICETECH 2022, to my fellow presenters and participants, pleasant morning, everyone. Allow me to present to you my research entitled Investigating the Effects of Video Conferencing on Students' Interest in Learning Mathematics . Okay, why conduct this study? The coronavirus outbreak has inflicted serious damages worldwide, which directly affected every nation's economic, political, and social facets. Of the many facets, one of the most gravely affected is the educational sector, wherein schools were forced to close to safeguard the well-being of students, parents, teachers, and other school personnel. Now, one of the most significant problems in the field of education in particular that needs highest attention during the new normal education is the disinterest of students in their mathematics classes as face-to-face is disallowed. With that, teachers directly point out that frequent late in the submission of their unanswered modules, no modules returned, complaints on the level of difficulty of their module topics, absent during online classes, and even no internet connectivity are students' common expression of being disinterested to learn. With that, video conferencing as a new technology itself has been used extensively since 1968. However, it has not been used extensively as an educational tool till the pandemic COVID-19 came. So that's why this research was viewed significant and relevant to study. So here we have 4 problems set. First, what are students' preparations on video conferencing, which aims to identify students' preparations on video conferencing. Second, what are students' experiences during video conferencing, which aim to discuss the students' experiences during video conferencing. Third, how do students perceive their learning during video conferencing, which aim to describe how students perceive their learning during video conferencing. And fourth, how do students' practices, experiences, and perceptions during video conferencing affect their interest in learning, which aim to explain how students' practices, experiences, and perceptions affect their interest in learning. So those problems, we use the instrument called interview protocol form. So the research methodology that includes the research design, the participants of the study, and the locale of the study. For the research design, we use the qualitative research using case study design and explanatory approach in the case study design was specifically used. For the locale of the study, that was Bukidnon State University, Kitaotao Campus, one of the 16 satellite campuses of Bukidnon State University here in the Philippines. And for the participants of the study, 9 third-year students of business administration of the subject CEBMIC 3 with course title Business Statistics. These 9 students were actually chosen purposively based on their level of performance and their level of interest. So these participants of the study were actually sons and daughters of farmers, housekeepers, no, and also phase. We have the free field phase, the field phase, and the reporting phase. Then for the instrumentation used, we use 3 sets of questionnaires. One is for academic assessment, and that include the activity sheets that was taken from a modular activity. And then the second one is the non-academic assessment, named Mathematics Interest Inventory, that was adapted questionnaire. And then the semi-structured interview protocol. Well, the first 2 sets of instruments were used to determine the level of students' performances. In the second one, which is the Mathematics Interest Inventory, was used to determine the students' level of interest. So for the data analysis procedure, we use the 4 steps to analyze data from a case study method by Atkinson J. in the year 2002. And on his study, he used the initial coding, expanded coding, and rationalized coding. So here we have the results of the study, of the research. So for table 1, we have students' basic preparations before video conferencing. So here we have our rationalized codes. So we have found out that students conduct prior research. They try to complete their houseworks, and they made sure to have all the necessary resources before they attend classes. So they conduct prior research because they believe that attending online classes would really let them participate on the spot, and then they try to complete their housework because they believe that houseworks would be one of the factors that might distract their online classes. And then for table 2, we have here the basic preparations of students during video conferencing. So the result of the data analysis are the following. They do note taking, they participate in the discussion, they conduct research, they ask questions, and they pay close attentions. So after video conferencing, students were found to review their notes. They tried to relax after facing the computer for so much hours. They do self-evaluation, they do their assignments right away, and they pose questions to their instructor. So for table 4, we have here the good experiences of video conferencing. Okay, so students experience approachable instructors. So they were given acknowledgement when they tried to enter the virtual classroom. They were given recognition. They felt the true essence of collaboration because students, both the students and the teachers, were new to this, what we call the new normal education. And so each of these students were helping each other in order to adapt with the changes. They can also do multitask. No? And then they feel comfortable learning at home. They are involved, they can answer their modular activities, and they can contribute to the class. For students, difficulties encountered on video conferencing, okay, it was found out that they were unprepared. They got bored and sleepy and distracted, mentally blocked. They don't comprehend because they believe that mathematics is difficult. How much more in face-to-face classes, how much more in the virtual classes. They remain in silence when they do not know what to answer, and then they left the meeting most of the time when they don't know the answer. They experience also this one, a very low internet connection that goes out unexpectedly. And lastly, lack of funds. So for students' perceptions on video conferencing, so learning varies. So because here in the satellite campus of Buksu Kitaw-Taw, students were really diverse. They were of different socioeconomic status. They were of different cultures and ethnicity and origin. So learning is individualized because they try to learn by themselves all alone by facing the computer, without seeing their classmates and their teachers physically. And then learning is evident, that was based on their performances. And lastly, learning is based on sufficient resources. And then we have here table 7, the positive effects of video conferencing on students' interest in learning mathematics. So appreciative, they became appreciative, optimistic, adaptive, and self-reliant. So for the negative effects of video conferencing on students' interest in learning mathematics, they became dependent on the other way. Dependent in the sense that their parents were engaged in answering their modular activities, and then they became pessimistic, disinterested, unmotivated to learn, and not focused. So for the conclusion, before video conferencing was implemented, students had their basic understanding of what it was. And apart from the modular activities, they had made an effort to attain an online class to supplement their learning. So considering that here in the satellite campus, that 73% of the students do not have internet connectivity. However, with the implementation of the modular learning modality, they find it difficult to just answer their module all alone. That's why the implementation of online learning had made to supplement the modular learning modality. Then students' experiences varied. They each had their own unique experiences, but they all agreed that taking an online class saves time, but the poor internet connection is a major drawback. And despite the fact that students believe math is difficult to learn without the teacher, they continue to learn during online classes. And lastly, because of the abrupt transition in the educational process, the students' interest shifted dramatically. Like they were on the verge of losing their interest because they believed that simply submitting the required requirements is sufficient to pass the subject. So for recommendation, it is critical for the teacher to inform the students prior to the beginning of the course, the basic preparations before attending online classes. And then the teacher also must encourage virtual collaboration and participation from students. So teacher and student communication must always be maintained. And then third, the government must devote sufficient resources to technological support so that our students can learn more effectively and advance to the level of students in other countries. And then also teachers must improve not just their face-to-face classroom management, but also their virtual classroom management. Moreover, teachers' communications with their students must be closely monitored, even if it is online, and also online class materials for students to answer should be limited, because it was also found out that these a lot of activities given to the students would just give them the stress rather than learning the skills, but they became stressed with it. So furthermore, studies may be reconducted to validate students' learning and interest with high number of respondents for more validity, reliability of the study, which may yield to significant results. For the references, and I guess that's all. Thank you very much.
Wow, that was very great presentation, Miss Hazel. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to remind you, the committee divided the link of the attendance list into two. The first link is belongs to the presenters, and then the second one is belongs to the participants. So please refill the link. Okay. Well, thank you so much. Now we are going to have the ninth presenter, entitled Factors Affecting the Mathematics Performance of Beat Students of NIPSC by Mr. Engelbert P. Escaloka. Hello, Mr. Engelbert. Let me check Mr. Engelbert. Okay. Let us go to the 10th presenter, and this comes from Mr. Peter Paul Elazo, Gloria de Tuzon, entitled Agronomic and Yield Performance of Garlic Varieties under STA Maria Ilocos agroclimatic condition. And we are going to have or to see the recording of this title. Here it is.
Good day, everyone. I'm here to present our research paper entitled Agronomic and Yield Performance of Garlic Varieties in Santa Maria Ilocos Sur Agroclimatic Condition. I'm Peter Paul L. Lasso, and my co-researcher is Dr. Gloria D. Tuzon of Ilocos Sur Polytechnic State College, Philippines. Garlic, scientifically known as Allium sativum, is one of the most important spices in the world of culinary arts. The Philippines still remains dependent on imports for its domestic garlic needs, with a self-sufficiency ratio of 7.9%, which meant we had import-depending ratio of 92.1%. For the period of 2015 to 2019, production declined by negative 7.8% and area declined by negative 1.2%. Garlic production in 2019 harvested 7.56 thousand metric tons from 2.61 thousand hectares. Ilocos region was the major producer of garlic, harvesting 4.82 thousand metric tons or 66.46% in 2019. Furthermore, Municipality of Santa Maria Ilocos Sur, Philippines have 84 hectares of uncultivated land after rice production due to low discharge of underground water and saline water contamination in some part. Since garlic has the ability to acclimate to different factors, hence this experiment was conducted to identify suitable garlic varieties under Santa Maria Ilocos Sur agroclimatic condition. This research aims to determine the suitable registered garlic varieties in Santa Maria Ilocos Sur agroclimatic condition. The study was conducted at ISPSC experimental station. The yellow triangle was the exact location of the study, and within the red circle are the area uncultivated after rice production or during dry season. 5 NSIC registered garlic varieties were tested, namely Ilocos Pink, Ilocos White, Miracle, Mexican, and Tan bolters, using randomized complete block design with 3 replication. Data gathered are the following: phenological observation, plant height, laminar width, bulb neck diameter, weight per bulb, bulb size, and pest and disease incidence. Analysis of variance for randomized complete block design was used to determine the statistical significance among treatments. For the research highlights, Mexican variety performed superior on the agronomic components of garlic varieties in terms of laminar width, stem diameter, and height, while the Miracle variety recorded the highest number of leaves but was comparable to Mexican, Ilocos White, and Tan bolters. Furthermore, garlic planted in year 1 was better than in year 2, as shown by the agronomic performance of all varieties. Likewise, it shows significant differences in all agronomic parameters except in the number of leaves, a variation in agronomic components of garlic varieties is due to different genetic makeup of the garlic. The yield components of garlic varieties across yields revealed highly significant difference among varieties. Ilocos white variety recorded the widest equatorial and polar diameter but was comparable to Mexican. However, the Mexican variety recorded the heaviest bulb weight and the highest yield but was comparable also to Ilocos white. Mexican and Ilocos white perform superior than other varieties in terms of yield components of garlic varieties across the year. Thus, they are suitable under Santa Maria Ilocos Sur agroclimatic condition. Likewise, Mexican and Ilocos white perform better in agronomic components that contributed to high yield performance. Varieties with greater bulb appeared to be taller than those with small bulb weights. And higher bulb weight in garlic is correlated with higher leaf length of the plants. A larger bulb was observed in year 1 than in year 2. Garlic varieties planted in year 1 obtain a high percentage of large bulbs, 51%, followed by medium size, 43%, while in year 2, most of the bulbs obtain medium size, 71%, and followed by small size. Furthermore, performance of the yield components of garlic varieties in year 1 is better than in year 2 because of the prevailing weather condition that favors the growth and development of the garlic. In terms of the bulb size distribution of garlic varieties, Ilocos white obtained the greatest number of large bulbs, 74%, followed by Mexican, 57% in year 1. In year 2, Mexican obtained the greatest number of large size with 23%, followed by 20%. However, the majority of the bulb was under the medium category, wherein Miracle obtained the greatest number, 80%, followed by Tan Bolters, 78%. This implies that agroclimatic condition in Santa Maria is favorable to Mexican and Ilocos white, which is responsible for producing significantly larger bulbs than other varieties. Tangle top, purple blotch, and cercospora leaf spot were among the diseases observed in Santa Maria Ilocos Sur. In general, no significant damage to all garlic varieties were observed across the year since the occurrence of disease was in the last stage of the crop. Hence, there was no effect on the overall yield of the crop. Thrips and red spider mites were among the insect pests recorded in the area. However, no significant damage to all garlic varieties were observed across the year since the occurrence of pests was in the last stage of the crop. Conclusion: in spite of differences in weather condition during year 1 and 2, Mexican and Ilocos white performed superior among other varieties in most of the agronomic parameters and yield parameters. On the other hand, Ilocos pink poorly performed in all agronomic and yield performance, making it not suitable under Santa Maria agroclimatic condition. Miracle and Tan Bolters are still subject for further verification since they are comparable in some parameters with the identified suitable garlic varieties in Santa Maria Ilocos Sur. Furthermore, slight infestation of pests and disease on garlic varieties signifies the feasibility of garlic production in the area. The researchers recommend the following. Farmers can plant Ilocos white and Mexican varieties to make their land productive. Further verification of Tan Bolters and Miracle varieties can be done. Validation trial for the same area and other areas with the same agroclimatic condition for expansion can be conducted. Trial at different planting dates to further evaluate the response to disease, pressure, and suitability of the garlic varieties. And follow-up study on the performance of registered garlic varieties on different planting distance and fertilizing rates. The following are the references of the study, some pictorials, and thank you for listening.
All right, thank you so much for Mr. Paul L. Lazo and also the members, Miss Gloria D. Tuzan. All right, we are going to have the next presentation entitled Correlation and Regression Analysis on the Effect of Shading and Mulching Materials on Growth and Yield of Tomatoes Planted during the rainy season, given by Mr. Milagros and also Mr. Zosimo. Here it is.
Good day, everyone. I'm here to present our research entitled Correlation and Regression Analysis on the Effects of Shading and Mulching Materials on Growth and Yield of Tomatoes Planted During the Rainy Season. For the overview, tomatoes during rainy seasons have low production in open fields. Thus, supply is low. Consequently, the price is high. The potential of protected production should be explored. For the objectives of the study, to determine the correlation effects of microclimates like temperature and relative humidity under the tunnel, or net covers on the growth and yield of off-season tomato and higher net income among different treatments and treatment combinations. The materials and methods. The split plot in factorial randomized complete block design was used. The treatment used were floating row covers, eco-friendly net covers, UV film, EFNC blue, EFNC green, and variety of tomato like Marimar and Diamante Max. Malt, sodas, and carbonized rice hull. For the results and discussion, the correlation of temperature inside the tunnel on the plant height and yield of tomato inside the tunnels of the eco-friendly net covers include the temperature of different gathering periods at 10 o'clock in the morning and 3 o'clock in the afternoon. The result of the mean internal temperature in the morning and in the afternoon were correlated to the different growth and yield parameter of tomato plants. The relationship are presented in scatter plots with regression equation, coefficient of determination or R2, and Pearson product moment correlation or R. For figure 1, the regression correlation on the plant height, fruiting percentage, and weight of marketable fruits of tomato plants. Diamante Max variety was not positively influenced by temperature in the morning and afternoon as presented in this figure. Similarly, temperature was negatively correlated to the growth of Marimar variety as presented. This implies that the newly introduced management intervention like the use of eco-friendly covers failed to provide the ideal temperature in the morning and afternoon. Instead, had caused stunning dwarfing since the ideal height of tomato varieties used to have about 60 to 80 centimeter height was not achieved. For figure 2, favored the fruiting of Diamante Max variety, as manifested by their positive correlation expressed in Y in morning and afternoon respectively. However, fruiting of Marimar tomato variety was favored by temperature only in the morning, but not in the afternoon. Results implies that the Diamante Max tomato variety was more responsive to temperature than the Marimar tomato variety. On this figure, the temperature was also correlated to the weight of marketable fruits yield of Diamante Max as expressed in the equation Y, in the morning and in the afternoon respectively. Similarly, the Marimar tomato variety responded the same with a positive correlation of temperature to the weight of marketable fruits. For the relative humidity inside the tunnel on the plant height and yield of tomato, the microclimate condition inside the tunnels at different gathering period as reflected in appendix figure 4 to 6. The mean relative humidity is correlated to the growth and yield parameter of tomato plants. This relationship is presented by scatter plots with regression equation Y equals Bx positive A, coefficient of determination, and Pearson product moment. This figure on the growth of tomato as presented on figure 2 and 2 varieties are positively correlated in the relative humidity that impeded the tunnel as presented by Y, and for variety in the morning and afternoon gathering respectively. When ambient conditions are too warm, for a plant and it closes its stomata for too long in an effort to conserve water, it has no way to move. Carbon dioxide and oxygen molecules is slowly causing the plant to suffocate on water vapor and its own transpired gases. For figure 5, the fruiting percentage of tomato was correlated to the relative humidity inside the tunnel as shown in this figure. Diamante max was not positively correlated as presented. An increase in temperature about 40 degrees centigrade that will redound to low relative humidity will cause floral abortion and resulted in a low fruiting percentage. In figure 6, results shows that there is a negative effect of relative humidity on the weight of tomato, specifically on variety 1, the Diamante max, with the data points distributed almost evenly, with the slope of negative 326.4. This means that there is a 0.326.54 centimeter decrease in the weight of the tomato inside the tunnel. However, variety 2 Marimar on the same figure shows that there is a positive correlation on the weight of tomatoes both morning and afternoon after relative humidity, which is supported by Y 5.3 and positive 695.33 and Y negative 4.3 plus 665.54 respectively. This shows that Diamante max is positively correlated to the relative humidity inside the tunnel that favors the weight of the harvested plants. This means that every kilogram of the air in the respective space contains 75% of the maximum amount of water that it can hold for the given temperature. For conclusion, based on the result of the study, the following conclusions were derived. Higher temperatures inside the tunnel improve the growth of tomato plants in terms of height and number of branches per plant, but lower the weight of marketable fruits per plot and yield per hectare. Relative humidity had a downhill or negative linear relationship with the growth of tomatoes, but increased the weight of marketable fruits per plot and yield per hectare.
All right, thank you so much for Miss Milagros O and also Miss Zimo A. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to remind you that please stay here because at the end of the session, we will have some kind of photo session. So please stay right here until the end of the session. All right, now may I call Mr. JC James M. Sangalang. Hello, Miss or Mr. JC James M. Sangalang? No one? Okay, we are going to have the 13th presenter, Mr. Darmadi. Mr. Darmadi will present the presentation entitled The Independence of Students of SLBN Karangrejo Madiun Regency in Learning Farm Education with the STEM Approach.
Oke, langsung Bu Fitra?
Yes.
Oke. Oke. Tak share dulu.
You may share your screen, sir.
Yes, oke. Bentar, salah. Ini belum siap. Sudah jelas. Benar. Ini. Oke. My slide can be view.
Yeah. It's clear, sir.
Okay,
You may
thank you.
start now.
Okay. Good morning. My name is Termati. My article have titled "The Independence of Student of SLP Negeri Karangrejo, Madiun Regency in Learning Farm Education with the STEM approach." My team is Budiono, Mr. Muhammad Rifai, Mrs. Haniatul Mukaromah, and Mr. Sanusi. I am from Indonesia. From the introduction, the independence of the independency of the main goal of the learning at extraordinary school or SLP is because we not one the graduate of SLP will be wasted for their family, or they will be bigger at the street and so on. So and at SLP Negeri Karangrejo Regency has a large area of land so that it can carry out farm education learning. The STEM approach was crucial in the learning because it is very suitable for improving the competence of graduates. It's we believe about my team and the teacher on that SLP at that school. Okay, and the purpose of this study is to find out the increase in the independent of student of SLP Negeri Karangrejo Madiun Regency in learning farm education with the STEM approach. And the method of this my study is by qualitative methods that are used by collecting data from observation and interview in the deep. And the time formulation is used to obtain valid data, student dependence data. And for data analysis, we use interactive methods that are used to that concludes that can be drawn as a result of this research. And the result of this study is like that. And you can look at my YouTube of the progress of this learning of this study or this study. And the implementation of the farm education learning with a STEM approach throughout Cal Garden is like this. They use like action research and or petika in Indonesian, and they use 5 cycle. Cycle 1 is about nursery. Cycle 2 is about land preparation. Cycle 3 is about planting. Cycle 4 is about carrying, and cycle 5 is about harvesting. Every cycle on this plan in this learning, we use an action research like planning, implementation, observation, and reflection for cycle 1 to cycle 5. And this also on the learning, we use they use project-based learning. So they have a project idea and then implementation, and the result of this learning is the project result. They have some project like this. And on this learning, they use a STEM approach by on their learning is there science, technology, engineering, art, and mathematics. And about the increased independence. We can use on this table about the by indicator of responsibility, initiative, and independence of others. On cycle 1 is like this, title 2, title 3, and 4 and 5. Okay, I think it's my article, the point of my article. Thank you, Mr. Hello?
Yeah, hello.
Mr. Fitra, okay, thank you.
You're
I think
welcome,
enough.
Darmadi. Thank you so much for your great presentation. All right, we're going to have the next presenter, Miss Ika Krisdiana will present the presentation under title STEM Culture-Based Teaching Materials on Cube and Block Building Materials. Miss Ika Krisdiana?
Yeah.
Okay. You may proceed.
Yes.
You may share your screen.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to say thank you for coming in my presentation. It's great to see you all. Let me introduce myself. My name is Febi Dastuti. I represent Mom Ika Krisdiana, who is unable to attend today because there are other activities. In this opportunity, I would like to present about journal titled STEM Culture Based Teaching Material on Cube and Block Building Material. First, I will explain to you about introduction. Education that applies the ability to think critically, communicate, collaborate.
Excuse me, Miss.
Yes.
Sorry to interrupting you. Would you please share your screen first? Will you use your screen slide presentation?
Yes, Miss.
Will you use your presentation slide of presentation? Okay, you may go on. Apakah ada slide presentasinya? You don't use it? Okay, you may go on. Please go on. Please proceed your presentation. Boleh, silakan dilanjutkan. Ya, silakan dilanjutkan. Hello? Hello? Hello, Miss? Are you still there? Okay. Okay. Now we are going to have the next presenter. Oh, sudah kembali.
Okay. Sorry, Miss.
Oh, it's
yeah.
okay. It's
Sorry,
okay.
Miss.
It's okay. You may proceed it. You may proceed it.
Okay. Then, the STEM approach in learning mathematics that raises element of the nation culture as an effort in introduce culture to students and keep the culture from being forgotten by the national itself. The need for the development of mathematics teaching material that are able to prepare students to master 21st century skill. Through this research, STEM culture integrate mathematics teaching material will be developed on the material of cube and block. The type of research used in this R&D and will the research model used is AD or analysis, design, development, implementation, and evaluation. Analysis the potential and problem related to the developed teaching material. Design, preparation of research instrument and initial design of teaching material. Development, preparation of teaching material, validation, sheet, initial design of teaching material. Then, the result of this research are analysis. The teacher only use the 2013 curriculum BSA pack book from the school, where in it there is no STEAM culture approved. This is able to improve students' abilities to face the 21st century. In addition, information is obtained there. Average student learning outcome are still low. This is caused by students not understanding the material presented by the teacher because students have not been able to construct the material, build up, and block space in real life. Design, preparation of instrument in the form of validation sheet and preparation of the initial design of teaching material. Development of teaching material and validation sheet, initial design of teaching, validation of STEM culture-based teaching material. The result was conducted at SMPN 12 Madiun. Teaching material I developed like this, where there is material culture in the form Makam Kuno Taman and Masjid Agung Sewulan in Madiun. Then validation result. Validation result, total score obtained from validator 1, 50, validator 2, 53, and validator 3, 534. Maximum score 65, and validation presentation from validator 1, 77%, 82%, and 83%. Sorry. And combined presentation, 85%. And the conclusion of the research is the feasibility of STEAM culture-based teaching material on cube and cubed space building material obtained a equivalent percentage result of 81%, which is included in the fairly valid category. This is in accordance with the validity criteria according to Sistiriani and Nurjana, where teaching material are declared valid if the percentage of validity exceeds 70.1%. Okay, thank you your time and attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you so much. Okay, we are going to have the last presenter, Mr. De Assis Delven. Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Glad to meet you this morning. Okay, you will present your presentation entitled Mobile Application for Learning Mathematics. It's evac on student self-concept, self-efficacy, and conceptual understanding. All right, you may proceed it, sir.
Can you see my presentation, ma'am?
Yes, of course. It's clear.
All right. Okay, now, by the way, I am Mr. Joven P.D. Assis. My research is entitled Mobile Application for Learning Mathematics, Its Effects on Students' Self-Concept, Self-Efficacy, and Conceptual Understanding in Mathematics. Now, before pandemic, mathematics is already considered as one of the most difficult subjects by many students in school. Now, during pandemic, in the study of Dangle and Sumawang 2020, it was found out that students struggle in mere self-learning modules. Consequently, struggling students are least likely to learn and benefit from modular distance learning, according to UNICEF 2020. And in the school year 2020 to 2021, grade 8 students of San Jose High School of Sinawan Incorporated got only a general weighted average of 81.28%. Now, students were using various mobile applications to help them understand their mathematics lesson, and one of those is PhotoMath. Now, teaching a learning process assisted by PhotoMath can improve the students' conceptual understanding, and also the integration of it into the mathematics curriculum can increase students' motivation. Example, we have self-concept and self-efficacy. Now, This study aimed to investigate the effects of math in grade 8 students of San Jose High School of Siniao Incorporated on their self-concept, self-efficacy, and conceptual understanding. Now, these are my research questions. To answer this, my objectives are to determine the level of students' self-concept, self-efficacy, and conceptual understanding in pre-test and post-test when exposed to math, and find out if there is a significant difference in students' self-concept, self-efficacy, and conceptual understanding in pre-test and post-test when exposed to math. Now, the research design of my study is a one-shot pre-test and post-test to measure self-efficacy, self-concept, and conceptual understanding. The following research instruments were used. Self-efficacy by Usher and Pajares, 2009. Self-concept by Peteros et al. 2020, and a conceptual understanding teacher-made test. Now, this study was conducted at San Jose High School of Siniao Incorporated, and the respondents were the grade 8 students. Now, the statistical tool of this study to measure the level of student self-concept, self-efficacy, and conceptual understanding, mean, frequency, and percentage were used. On the other hand, to test the significance, parametric paired t-test were utilized or was utilized. Now, these are the results of my study. First, we have the level of self-concept. Now, it was found out that the mean of self-concept in terms of self-image is moderate. The mean is 2.85 and 2.98 in the pre-test and post-test respectively. Now, in terms of self-esteem, students have a moderate as well. Moderate self-concept with a mean score of 2.88 and 2.98 in the pre-test and post-test respectively. Now, on the other hand, in terms of ideal self, students have moderate, or high level of self-concept. They have 3.55 and 3.64 in the pre-test and post-test respectively. Overall, students have a moderate level of self-concept with a mean score of 3.09 and 3.20 in the post-test, in the pre-test and post-test respectively. Now, these findings conform to the study of Peteros et al. 2020, where students' self-concept towards mathematics is moderate. The respondents' self-concept needs to be strengthened in the study since students with a strong self-concept have a better likelihood of completing their activities than those with a low self-concept. Now, in terms of self-efficacy, now students have a moderate mastery of experiences with a mean score of 2.84 and 2.96 in the pre-test and post-test respectively. Now, in terms of vicarious experiences, students have a moderate vicarious experiences in the pre-test with a mean score of 3.47. On the other hand, in the post-test, students have high level of vicarious experiences with a mean score of 3.67. Now, in terms of social persuasion, students have both moderate social persuasion with a mean score of 2.69 and 3.2 in the pre-test and post-test respectively. And lastly, in terms of emotional and psychological stage, students have moderate. We have 2.72 and 2.91 in the pre-test and post-test respectively. Now, let's proceed to the result of self-efficacy. The overall, we have overall mean with a moderate in pre-test with a mean score of 2.93 and also moderate in the post-test with a mean score of 3.14. Now, these findings conform to the study of Saligumba and Tan 2018, where students' self-efficacy towards mathematics is moderate. The respondents' main source of self-efficacy in mathematics was through their vicarious experiences, such as observing others. Now let's proceed to the third variable of my study, or conceptual understanding. Now, students have uh, 35 of my students got lack of conceptual understanding in the pretest, and 75 or 72.5 got uh, lack of conceptual understanding in the post-test. No. Overall mean, we have 1.59 implies lack of conceptual understanding. And in the post-test, we have 2.40, which also implies lack of conceptual understanding. Now, the findings of this study conform to the study of Norihati et al. 2020, when they found a very low conceptual understanding in the pretest before they were exposed and assisted by photomath on system of linear equations in two variables. However, they found out that the conceptual understanding of students improved the average mean in their post-test, but the improvement was still in the low category. Now, for the test of significance, let's have the first self-concept. Now, it was found out that students have um, there's no significant difference in self-concept in mathematics before and after their exposure to math. Similarly, the three indicators of self-concept, namely self-image, self-esteem, and ideal self, were found to have no significant difference before and after the exposure to math. The result conforms to the findings of Moliner and Allegri 2020, wherein there was no significant difference in student self-concept between the pre-test and post-test in the control group. However, the result contradicts after students' exposure to peer tutoring in the experimental group, wherein there was a significant difference in student self-concept between the pre-test and post-test. Now, in terms of self-efficacy, it was found out that there is a significant difference in students' self-efficacy in mathematics before and after the exposure to math. However, three self-efficacy indicators, namely mastery experiences, vicarious experiences, and emotional and psychological states, were shown to have no significant difference before and after their exposure to math. This finding conformed to the study of Saligumba and Sigumpan 2019, where the level of self-efficacy of students exposed to DA is significantly higher than those exposed to non-DA. Consequently, the result contradicts to the study of Saligumba and Tang. Now let's proceed to conceptual understanding. Now, in terms of the result, there is a significant difference in students' self or conceptual understanding in pre-test and post-test when exposed to math. The findings found out that it was conformed to the study of Norihati et al. 2020, when they found out a significant difference on students' self or conceptual understanding, although the improvement, again, is still considered in low category. Based on the findings, the following conclusions are drawn. Now, the level of student self-concept in mathematics before and after the exposure to math are both moderate. The level of student self-efficacy in mathematics before and after the exposure to math are both moderate. On the other hand, the level of students' conceptual understanding in mathematics before and after the exposure to math are both in the lack category. Now, furthermore, there is no significant difference in student self-concept in mathematics before and after the exposure to math. There is a significant difference in student self-efficacy in mathematics before and after their exposure to math. And lastly, there is a significant difference in students' conceptual understanding mathematics before and after their exposure to math. Now, teachers and administrators are highly recommended to simplify mathematics to improve students' self-concept and avoiding giving very difficult tasks, give constructive feedback, and provide complements to students' work in order to enhance students' self-efficacy in mathematics. Also, it is advised to not just give students simple mathematical equations to solve. In addition, it is highly recommended to apply various mobile applications such as Desmos and GeoGebra to different topics in algebra. To understand the reasons behind students' lack of conceptual understanding after the exposure to math, it is highly suggested to conduct a quantitative study for a relatively more extended period of implementation. Overall, teachers and administrators are highly encouraged to further develop the integration of mobile application into the curriculum in order to improve students' self-concept, boost self-efficacy, and foster in-depth conceptual understanding in mathematics. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. That was very great presentation. Thank you so much. Okay, you may now close your slide. Thank you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, since there were a technical problem when we play the video of the presenter of number 2, we are going to replay the recording of the presenter of number 2. Here it is.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Our research entitled The Effectiveness of Application POAW Project Observe, Explain, Write Learning Model on the Ecosystem Concept. The learning process in the classroom is a very important part of the education. The success of the learning process cannot be separated from the ability of teacher to develop models, method, and learning media. Inappropriate learning model can cause the learning process to be not optimal. The learning model should be oriented toward increasing the intensity of student involvement effectively in the learning process. The learning process in various scientific fields is certainly different. In the scientific field of biology, learning is not enough to be carried out by conveying information about concepts and principles, but students must also understand the process of occurrence of scientific phenomena by utilizing sensing as much as possible. This means that when learning science, students must be active in the learning process, so observing, experimenting, and discussing with friends and with the teacher, so that learning goals can be achieved. One of the learning models that can apply is the POAW learning model. The POAW model consists of 4 stages of core activities. 1. Predict. Students make guesses. 2. Observe. Students make observations. 3. Explain. Students explain in the discussion. 4. Write. Students write conclusions in their own language. The POAW learning model can make students able to make predictions based on their prior knowledge, so that students can solve problems given by the teacher as well as problems in everyday life. In addition, students are guided to design experiments based on their own predictions. The POAW learning models allow students to be active in the learning process, providing opportunities for students to construct their knowledge, communicate their thoughts, their discussion, so that students better understand and master the concept being taught, and student critical thinking skills are improved. Based on the previous description, the objectives of this research are: A. How is the initial ability of students before being given the POAW, predict, observe, explain, write learning model on the ecosystem concept? B. How are student learning outcomes after being given the POAW, predict, observe, explain, write learning model on the ecosystem concept? C. How effective is the application of the POAW, predict, observe, explain, write learning model to the ecosystem concept? The research method used in is the free experimental method, which is an experimental research design that only use the experimental group without a control group. Research design is one group pre-test post-test design. Sample, one class from class 10, Madrasah Aliyah Al-Faliliyah, Cianjur. Total 24 students. The instrument, an objective test of 30 multiple choice question. The data analysis by calculating improved learning outcomes, mastery level of value, average mastery level, and effectiveness of the learning model. The results show that before applying the POAW learning model, the average value is 57.08. After applying the POAW learning model is 81.46. To determine the effectiveness of learning, the following analysis is carried out. A. Normalized gain test. Based on figure 1, it can be seen that of the 24 students, the high category was achieved by 7 students with a percentage of 29.2%. The median category was achieved by 15 students with a percentage of 62.5%. And low category was achieved by 2 students with a percentage of 8.3%. D. Mastery level test. The level of student mastery can be seen from 24 students who have not mastered the material or below 25%, and 2 students with a percentage of 8.3%, while the students who managed to master 25% of the material were 22 students with a percentage of 91.7%. C. Average mastery level. The average mastery level of all students is 81%, which indicates a high level of mastery. The effectiveness of learning model. The application of the POAW Predict Offset Expert Right learning model is effective in improving student learning outcomes on the concept of ecosystem. This is because the POAW Predict Offset Expert Right learning model has the advantage: A. Students become active and directly involved in learning. B. Students become more creative, especially when making prediction. C. Learning is more interesting because students can make direct observation. D. Can train students to communicate or explain the relationship between prediction and observation to others, so that learning activities will be more meaningful and train students to think critically. A. Students construct their own knowledge. Based on the result of research and discussion, conclusion can be drawn. A. The initial ability of students before application of the POAW Predict Observe Expand Right learning model is low. This is evidenced by the average student learning outcome through the free test that is equal to 57.08. The average value is still very far from the average value of the minimum completeness criteria that has been set at the Madrasah Aliyah Al-Khalidiyah Cianjur for class 10 biology subject, which is 75. B. Student learning outcomes after being gives learning using the POAW Predict Observe Expand Right model as measured by post-test show improvement and good results. This is indicated by the average value of 81.46. The average value has reached the minimum completeness criteria that has been set at the Madrasah Aliyah Al-Khalidiyah Cianjur for class 10 biology subject, which is 75. C. Student learning outcome by applying the POAW Predict Observe Expand Right model is effective on the concept of ecosystem in class 10 at Madrasah Aliyah Al-Khalidiyah Cianjur. This is indicated by the average level of mastery of material, which is 81%, which is included in the high category. Then the learning mastery obtained is 91.7%, exceeding 75%. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you so much for this presentation. All right, for the last call, I'm going to recall. I'm going to make sure that Mr. Engelbert P. Escalona and also Mr. Jesse James M. Sangalang is here or not. Okay, there's no response. It's okay. Well, thank you so much for all of your presentation. Here, still no question. Would you please, all presenter or participant, give your question to all presenters. I am encouraging you to type some kind of questions to all presenters here. Okay, if there's no questions, it means that all of your presentation are clear enough, yeah, very clear to all of the participants here. All right, I'm going to also remind you, all of the presenters and also participants, thank you so much for your participation and also contribution for the ICETECH 2022 conference. So please kindly fill the evaluation list below. There's a link in a chat box to fill the evaluation of ICETECH 2022 conference. And also don't forget to also fill the link of the attendance list of presenters and also participants. Okay, it is now time to have photo session. Would you please, all of the participants and also the presenters, activate your camera. The committee will click the picture of you. Would you please all open or activate your camera? Okay, we are still waiting for you. Okay, we are still waiting for you. There are 2 pages. Okay. Okay, we are going to start for the first slide, the first page. 1, 2, 3. Wait for a moment, still on the slide 1. All right, now we are going to have the photo of slide 2 of the page 2, the second page. Okay, very good. Thank you so much. So this concludes the session today. Thank you so much for your attendance here. I hope we can meet again in other occasion. If you want to watch again the video conference, you may go to Universitas PGRI Madiun YouTube channel. And we are delighted if you also subscribe, like, and comment on the video. And now I'm going to invite you to go back to the main room while we are waiting for other participants. My name is Fitra Pinandhita, and thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you, Mom.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for your
Thank you po.
participation.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.